Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69. While many people see it as just a small copper coin that's easy to overlook, the truth is that certain years and mint marks have turned into some of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. One year that always sparks curiosity is 1976. Now, this date already stands out in American history because it was the nation's bicentennial, celebrating 200 years of independence, and that patriotic atmosphere extended into everything, even coinage. While quarters, half dollars, and dollars struck in 1976 received special bicentennial designs, the humble 1-cent Lincoln penny retained its traditional look. But here's the catch: within that year's production, certain Lincoln pennies, especially those with unique mint marks or in rare conditions, have proven to be highly collectible and worth far more than their face value. The Lincoln cent had already been circulating for decades by the time 1976 rolled around. Designed by Victor David Brenner back in 1909, the penny featured the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, making it the first American coin to honor a real historical figure. The reverse at the time still carried the familiar Lincoln Memorial design, which replaced the earlier wheat ears in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By the bicentennial year, millions upon millions of these pennies had been minted, but collectors know that not all coins are created equal. Subtle variations, differences in mint marks, and errors during production can make one penny worth only a cent while another from the same year might be valued at thousands. The 1976 Lincoln penny was produced at multiple mints, most notably Philadelphia, which carried no mint mark, and Denver, which displayed the D mint mark. These small letters are found just under the date and may seem like minor details, but to collectors they are crucial in identifying rarity and value. For instance, pennies with strong, clear mint marks that show no signs of doubling are more desirable. But what excites collectors even more are unusual examples: coins with repunched mint marks, doubled dies where the lettering or numbers show a doubling effect, or off-center strikes where the design is shifted on the planchet. These types of errors are what transform an ordinary 1976 penny into a unique piece of history worth serious money. Condition, of course, is king in coin collecting. The vast majority of 1976 pennies you might find in change today will be worn down, showing decades of circulation. The details of Lincoln's hair might be smooth, the steps of the Lincoln Memorial blurred, and the overall surface covered in scratches and discoloration. Those coins, while still interesting, usually carry little value beyond face. But if you discover one that has been preserved in mint state condition, the story changes entirely. Brilliant luster, sharp details, and original red color are all features that drive up the price. Professional grading services have documented high-grade examples that command impressive premiums at auction. It's also important to remember that 1976 wasn't just any year, it was a moment of great pride in American history. Coins from this year carry extra sentimental value to collectors who cherish the connection between numismatics and the story of the nation. A 1976 Lincoln penny is more than just a piece of copper, it's a reminder of a year when America looked back on 2 centuries of independence and forward into the future with optimism. This historical backdrop adds an emotional layer of importance to the coin, making rare examples even more appealing. Collectors and treasure hunters love stories of incredible finds, and the 1976 Lincoln penny has its fair share. There are accounts of people discovering high-value coins while coin roll hunting, searching through pocket change, or even inheriting jars of pennies from older relatives. What may look like a simple coin at first glance can turn out to be a valuable discovery once you know what details to check. That's why enthusiasts continue to search and study these coins with passion. The possibility of finding a hidden treasure keeps the excitement alive. Today, we're going to dive deep into one very interesting year, the 1971 Lincoln penny with mint marks, a coin that at first glance may look like an ordinary cent you could find in your pocket change, but under the right conditions, it could actually be worth a small fortune. The year 1971 was a fascinating time in America. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, NASA was making progress after the success of the Apollo missions, and the country was in the middle of social and economic change. Amidst all this, the U.S. Mint continued striking billions of Lincoln cents to keep up with circulation demand. In 1971 alone, pennies were struck at multiple mints including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While most of these coins ended up being used in everyday transactions, a select few came out with unique qualities that have turned them into highly desirable collector's items today. The Lincoln penny of this era was still made from a bronze composition consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which gave it that classic reddish-brown shine when freshly minted. However, copper is a metal that changes color over time, so many pennies from this period have aged into darker brown or even spotted surfaces. Collectors, however, seek those few coins that have been preserved in pristine condition, often still showing a brilliant red luster as if they had just left the mint. These high-grade examples are where the real value starts to appear. Another reason the 1971 Lincoln penny is so fascinating is due to its varieties and errors. One of the most well-known among collectors is the 1971 double-die obverse penny. This variety shows noticeable doubling in the inscriptions on the front of the coin, especially in the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." To the untrained eye, it might look like a blurry strike or shadowed lettering, but to collectors, it represents one of the most valuable errors of the 1970s penny series. Coins with strong doubling in excellent condition can fetch impressive sums at auctions, with collectors eagerly competing to add them to their collections. Mint marks also play a huge role in determining the value of 1971 pennies. The Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark at the time, so any coin without a mark below the date comes from Philadelphia. Denver pennies have a D mint mark, and San Francisco issues carry an S. While most of the San Francisco pennies of that year were proof coins specially made for collectors, a few managed to find their way into circulation, making them far more valuable than ordinary circulation strikes. Additionally, the sharpness of the strike, the presence of small die varieties, and even minor striking errors like off-centering or clipped planchets can add significant premiums to their value. Condition is always king in coin collecting. Most 1971 pennies found in circulation today are worn, scratched, or discolored, making them worth only their face value. But when one is preserved in mint state or proof condition with its luster intact, the value skyrockets. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC have been known to sell for thousands of dollars, especially if they feature rare varieties or doubling errors. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for such examples, searching through rolls of pennies and inherited coin collections hoping to uncover a hidden treasure. What makes coins like the 1971 penny even more exciting is the possibility that someone could find one tucked away in an old jar, a box in the attic, or even as loose change from a store. Many of the most valuable coins ever discovered were found completely by accident. People who don't know what to look for might spend them without a second thought, not realizing that they hold a piece of American history worth far more than a cent. The Lincoln penny series has always been a favorite because it's accessible to everyone. Unlike rare gold coins or high-denomination currency, pennies are coins that every American has handled countless times. The thought that one of these everyday coins could be worth thousands is what makes the hobby so thrilling. Collectors often say that the Lincoln penny is the perfect coin to start with, because the series spans so many years and includes countless varieties, mint errors, and hidden gems that keep the hunt alive. Now when it comes specifically to the 1971 Lincoln penny with mint marks, the excitement reaches another level. Between the double die varieties, the differences between the mints, and the rarity of high-grade coins, it's no wonder collectors keep their eyes peeled for these little copper treasures. If you happen to come across one in your collection that looks sharper than usual, shows doubling on the obverse, or carries a flawless shine, you may just be looking at something truly valuable. And here's where it gets even more astonishing. Believe it or not, some rare 1971 Lincoln pennies in exceptional condition with mint marks and desirable varieties have been sold at auction for unbelievable amounts. In fact, one of the finest examples known reached an astounding value of $50,000, yes, $50,000, for just a single penny. Today, collectors, not just because of its design and history, but also because of its hidden potential value that many people are still unaware of. Imagine going through your change or an old jar of coins that has been sitting in your drawer for decades, and suddenly you come across a 1981 penny with a mint mark. At first glance, it may look ordinary, just like every other penny you've ever spent without a second thought. But in the world of numismatics, small differences in a coin can turn an everyday cent into a collector's treasure. Let's take a step back to understand why the 1981 penny is so interesting. The coin still carried the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse side in 1981, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparo, which had been introduced in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. From 1959 to 2008, this design was standard, but every coin tells its own story depending on its year, its mint, and the condition it has survived in. The year 1981 was especially unique because it was the last full year before the U.S. Mint transitioned from copper-based pennies to primarily zinc-based pennies in 1982. That means if you hold a 1981 penny, it is still made of 95% copper, a composition collectors admire. The mint marks are what make things really exciting for coin enthusiasts. The 1981 Lincoln pennies were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark at the time. Denver coins carried a D, and San Francisco coins carried an S. The S mint marks in 1981 are particularly noteworthy because they were proof coins, specially made with sharp details and mirror-like finishes for collectors. However, what truly drives up the value of a 1981 penny is not just the mint mark alone, but the condition and any potential errors that can be found. Error coins have always fascinated collectors because they represent rare mistakes that slip through the strict quality controls of the mint. Double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and die cracks are all examples of errors that make a 1981 penny far more valuable than its face value. A double die on Lincoln's face, the date, or the lettering can make a coin stand out instantly to an experienced collector. Similarly, pennies with exceptionally strong strikes, pristine luster, or those that have been carefully preserved without scratches or wear are highly sought after. Even a simple 1981 penny with a sharp strike and brilliant uncirculated quality can command much higher prices than one that has been used in circulation for years. Now think about this: millions of 1981 pennies were produced, and most of them ended up being spent countless times, stored in jars, or tossed aside without a second thought. But among those millions, only a fraction survived in immaculate condition, and even fewer contain rare errors. Those rare survivors are the ones that command the attention of collectors and can reach incredible prices at auction. It's these tiny details that separate a penny worth 1 cent from one worth thousands of dollars. Collectors also view the 1981 penny as historically significant because it bridges the gap between the long-running copper coinage tradition and the modern zinc pennies that most people use today. In a way, owning a 1981 penny in pristine condition is like holding the end of an era in your hand. This historical importance, combined with the thrill of hunting for rare varieties, is what makes the 1981 penny a coin worth searching for. When looking for valuable 1981 Lincoln pennies, pay close attention to the mint mark. A Denver mint penny with a clear, bold strike in near-perfect condition could be worth far more than most people would imagine. Likewise, proof coins from San Francisco, especially those with unique varieties or errors, can be incredibly valuable to the right buyer. But the most important factor is always condition. Coins graded at the highest levels by professional grading services can sell for life-changing amounts. Today, let's take a journey back in time to the year 1961, a year that not only saw big changes in America but also gave us a coin that many collectors continue to admire, the Lincoln penny with a mint mark. What seems like just a small copper coin in circulation can actually be worth far more than anyone could ever expect, and that's exactly why this story will keep you hooked till the very end. The 1961 Lincoln cent carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design first appeared in 1909, marking the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it was the very first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a president. On the reverse, you'll see the simple yet classic design of the wheat ears, but by 1959 this design had been replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse. So for the 1961 penny, it proudly shows the memorial, representing strength and honoring the legacy of the nation's 16th president. If you look closely, right under the date, you'll find the mint mark, which tells you where the coin was produced, whether in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. This little mark might seem unimportant, but in the world of coin collectors, it can make all the difference. Now, let's dive deeper into what makes the 1961 Lincoln penny so captivating. While billions were produced that year, meaning it was a very common coin at first glance, not all pennies are created equal. Certain variations, rare errors, and exceptional conditions can turn this penny into a prize worth seeking. Collectors often search for special versions, such as those struck with a double die error, repunched mint marks, or other striking anomalies that occurred during production. For example, a double die error means the coin was struck in a way that doubled some of its features, making the date, letters, or even Lincoln's image look doubled when viewed under magnification. These rare occurrences are what drive collectors wild, because the rarity combined with demand can turn a 1-cent piece into something worth thousands. Condition also plays a huge role. A heavily circulated penny from 1961 might just be worth face value or a little more, but one that has been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition can command high prices. Collectors always look for coins graded in mint state, which means they still retain their original luster and sharp details. The brighter the shine and the fewer the scratches, the more valuable the coin becomes. Even slight differences in grading, like MS-65 compared to MS-67, can mean a massive jump in price. That's why it's always exciting to search through old jars, coin rolls, or inherited collections. You never know if a hidden gem might be waiting. Another fascinating factor is the mint mark itself. In 1961, pennies were struck at multiple mints, and some are much rarer than others. A small letter like D for Denver or S for San Francisco beneath the date might change everything about the coin's desirability. Sometimes, mint marks were punched more than once, creating what collectors call a repunched mint mark, which is highly sought after. Each of these little quirks makes the 1961 penny more than just a coin. It becomes a story, a mystery, and potentially a fortune. What makes this journey truly exciting is that these pennies can still turn up in circulation, tucked away in old collections or even sitting unnoticed in a drawer. Imagine pulling out a coin that millions of people overlooked, only to discover it's worth more than anyone ever expected. That thrill of discovery is why coin collecting remains one of the most captivating hobbies in the world. So, as you look at your change or perhaps open that box of coins you've been holding onto for years, keep an eye out for the 1961 Lincoln penny with a mint mark. Look for unusual details, check the condition, and don't underestimate the potential of a coin that many people would simply spend without thinking twice. Today, United States 1-cent coin. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909, has gone through many changes in design, metal composition, and minting errors over the decades. But the 1982 Lincoln penny stands out as one of the most fascinating because it was the year when the U.S. Mint switched from the traditional copper composition to the new copper-plated zinc. For over 70 years, Lincoln pennies were made mostly of copper, but due to rising metal costs, the Mint had to make a change. This decision ended up creating a year with multiple varieties, and for collectors, that makes 1982 pennies extremely special and valuable. Now let's take a deep dive into what makes the 1982 Lincoln penny with its mint mark so important. First, it's key to know that there are actually 7 different varieties of the 1982 penny. This is because during the transition, the Mint produced both copper pennies and copper-plated zinc pennies in the same year. Not only that, but they also made them with 2 different date styles, the small date and the large date. Combine that with the different mints producing coins, and you have a situation where collectors today are hunting for these rare combinations. The mint marks to watch out for are D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and some without a mint mark, which means they were minted in Philadelphia. Collectors pay special attention to the 1982 D small date copper penny. This one is considered the king of the 1982 varieties. It's so rare that only a handful are confirmed to exist. But even beyond that, all 1982 pennies are worth looking at closely because small differences in weight, design, and mint mark can mean the difference between a penny that's only worth a cent and one that can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. When examining your 1982 penny, the first thing you want to do is check for the mint mark just below the date. If you see a D, you've got a Denver penny. If you see an S, that means San Francisco. No mint mark means Philadelphia. Next, you'll want to determine whether your coin is copper or zinc. The easiest way to do this is by weighing the coin. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. This weight difference may seem small, but for coin collectors, it's everything. It separates a common penny from a rare collectible. Another thing that makes the 1982 pennies so interesting are the die varieties and errors. Double dies, off-center strikes, and misaligned mint marks are all things collectors look for. In some cases, these errors can drastically increase the value of your coin. For instance, a double die on the date or lettering can turn a seemingly ordinary penny into a prize worth hundreds or even thousands. So it pays to examine every detail carefully with a magnifying glass. It's also worth mentioning that condition plays a major role in the value of a 1982 penny. Coins in mint state, especially those graded by professional services, can command huge premiums at auction. A coin that's been sitting untouched for decades and shows no wear could easily surprise you with its value. Collectors are always willing to pay more for coins in top condition, especially from a year like 1982 where varieties are so important. Imagine the thrill of discovering that a penny in your pocket change isn't just worth 1 cent, it could be worth thousands. That's the magic of coin collecting, and it's why the 1982 Lincoln penny continues to be such an exciting topic for enthusiasts around the world. Even today, new discoveries are being made, and rare varieties are popping up in collections and at auctions. This keeps the mystery alive and encourages people to keep searching through their change. So if you come across a 1982 penny, don't let it slip through your hands without giving it a close look. Check the mint mark, weigh the coin, and study the date style. You never know, you might be holding onto a coin that's far more valuable than it seems. These pennies are living pieces of American history, and they remind us that sometimes, the smallest coins can carry the biggest stories. And here's the most exciting part: some rare 1982 Lincoln pennies with the right mint mark, weight, and condition have been sold for as much as $67,000.